Thank you. I want to begin by sharing a story with you about a man named Julius Hirsch. Julius was a German Jew born in 1892 who was a proud patriot and even saw himself as a German before he did a Jew. He was one of Germany's best soccer players during the pre-World War I era and even played for the German national team. In 1912, he scored 4 goals in a single match for Germany, a national record at the time. When World War I broke out in July of 1914, Hirsch immediately volunteered for the German army. He served Germany with all his heart and was loyal to his emperor, Kaiser Wilhelm. He was even awarded the Iron Cross, second class, for his bravery. Like many German Jews, he believed military service proved full belonging in German society. After the war ended, he returned to civilian life, continued to play soccer, and married a non-Jewish woman, with whom he started a family. Once he retired from soccer, he became a youth coach and a civil servant, working in the local administration. He and his family lived quiet, middle-class German life in Karlsruhe. He wasn't loud. He wasn't interested in Zionism, even though the movement had been around for a long time. There was no separatism. There was no outsider identity. He considered himself a German who happened to be Jewish. Like many other Jews, he believed his service spoke for itself and didn't think others would see him as anything else besides a German war veteran. When Hitler and the Nazis came to power in 1933, everything changed. Racial laws overrode military service. Hirsch was expelled from German sports organizations and barred from coaching and civic roles. His World War I medals, military rank, and national team status meant nothing in the snap of a finger. And why? Because he was a Jew. The Nuremberg laws formally took effect in 1935 and stripped him of citizenship and legal protections, cutting off all employment opportunities. Like many mixed couples, he was forced to divorce his Christian wife and removed from his family. His children were stigmatized as Mischling or mixed race under Nazi law and faced discrimination, social isolation, and long-term trauma. Yet, like many other Jewish war veterans, Hirsch remained in Germany because leaving still felt unthinkable. After all, Germany was his home. By the Kristallnacht era in 1938, Jewish existence had become openly dangerous. With arrests, confiscations, and terror now routine, Hirsch was living under a microscope. Escape was nearly impossible, but even if he wanted to, it was too late. In 1943, he was arrested and deported to Auschwitz. There were no exemptions for his military service, decorations, fame, or assimilation. He was executed shortly after arrival. After the war in 1945, Germany later memorialized him, long after his loyalty had been ignored and his life destroyed. You see, this is what we get as Jews. The world gives us a plaque, a memorial, a remembrance day, but only after we have been slaughtered. Only after Jewish blood has been shed. The world is silent during our massacre, but hey, at least you get a plaque when you're gone. How much longer will we allow ourselves to be slaughtered? How much longer will we hide from our identity? May Julius Hirsch's neshama be a blessing, and may we learn from the injustice and persecution he faced. I want to share another story with you now about a different type of Jew. We call this Jew the Kabo. Couples were inside the camps and ghettos who believed that cooperation would save them. The Nazis gave some Jews positions of authority, overseeing labor, enforcing rules, and even in some cases carrying out punishments against fellow Jews. These men convinced themselves that obedience meant survival. They believed that if they helped run the system smoothly, if they proved their value, they would be spared. One of the most infamous examples of this was a Jewish man named Chaim Rumkowski, who was placed in charge of the Lodz ghetto. He ran it as a labor factory for the Nazis, enforced their orders, and even helped organize deportations, once again believing that obedience and productivity would protect him and those under his control. Well, it didn't. When the Nazis were finished using him, when the ghetto was no longer useful, he was deported to Auschwitz and murdered like everyone else. No reward, no exemption, no mercy. And this was not unique. Countless capos who enforced the Nazi will, who abandoned all dignity and morality in the hope of survival, were executed the moment they outlived their usefulness. Because to the Nazis there was no such thing as a good Jew. There was a useful Jew, and then a dead Jew. So whether you were Julius Hirsch, the German patriot, the decorated war hero, the national sports icon, or whether you were a capo who bent the knee and helped run the machinery of oppression against your own people, the end was the same. Assimilation didn't save you. Service didn't save you. Status didn't save you. Obedience didn't save you. Silence didn't save you. And above all, switching sides didn't save you. Today, we may not be in camps. We may not be forced to wear stars, but much of the hatred that existed back then is very much alive today. The capos of World War II live in the hearts of the anti-Zionist Jew, who believe that separating themselves from Zionism will somehow change the public's perception of them. They believe in a watered-down version of Judaism, which, as far as I'm concerned, isn't Judaism at all. They believe in assimilation. These are the as a Jew type Jews. People who only invoke their Jewish identity when they allow themselves to be used as a propaganda piece for movements like Code Pink and other fascist Palestinian movements. They show up at a pro-Palestine protest wearing a talit and a kippah, yet haven't stepped foot in a synagogue for 15 years. And if, God forbid, another Holocaust were to happen, these capos would not be spared. These anti-Zionist Jews would not be seen as any different from Zionist Jews. Because at the end of the day, a Jew is a Jew, no matter what. You would have to be blind not to see the hatred for Jews around the world is different this time. I feel it in my bones that this moment is different. This is not fringe hatred anymore. This is normalized mainstream hatred. And it's not just coming from the left anymore. It's now openly festering on the right as well. Voices with massive influence and platforms. People who shape public opinion are once again repeating the same talking points used by the Nazis in the 1930s. Radical Islamist money and influence funded by Qatar have infiltrated our top universities and have snaked their way into Western politics, media, and institutions. We always knew the left was compromised. What's new and what's dangerous is how mainstream the sickness has become on both sides. And that is exactly why Jewish nationalism is no longer an option. Being a proud Zionist is no longer a choice, it is an identity. This week's parasha, Beshalach, is about what resistance looks like at the edge of fear. The Jewish people stand trapped. Pharaoh behind them, the sea in front of them, and death almost certain. When facing evil, death almost certain. This is exactly what we are seeing today in Iran. A regime lashing out as its people stop being afraid. Beshalach reminds us that freedom begins when fear ends. When facing evil, we must learn from the Persian people. They have shown the world what courage looks like. Unwilling to waver, refusing to bow even when the cost is their lives. At the sea, the Jewish people did not wait for Pharaoh to soften or for safety to be guaranteed. God commands them, Daber el bnei Israel ve'isa. Hear me, O people of Israel, move forward. All we needed to know was that Hashem was with us. That was it. The Persian people are doing the same thing today, and Hashem is with them. Jews must meet evil the same way, without apology, without hesitation, and without retreat. History does not bend for those who compromise with tyranny. It moves for those who stand their ground. I formed Metzad because I realized something uncomfortable but undeniable. The Jewish people have been trained out of strength. We have been taught to survive by appealing to others instead of relying on ourselves. We have been conditioned to believe that dignity comes from acceptance, not from power. We care more about being liked than being respected. Too many Jews today are afraid to say they are Zionist, afraid to say they believe in the Jewish state, that the Jewish people are a nation, afraid to be visibly Jewish. If there's one thing Jewish history teaches us, it's that when we outsource our security, we lose everything. There's another form of Jewish strength that we don't talk about enough, one that terrifies our enemies just as much as Mossad and their pagers. Jewish continuity, Jewish families, Jewish children. The Nazis didn't just try to kill Jews, they tried to erase us from the future. Every Jewish baby is a defiance of that goal. Every Jewish home is an act of resistance. The strongest response to those who want us gone is not just surviving, it's multiplying. Raising proud Jewish children who know who they are, where they're from, and why their identity matters. You don't defeat a people by killing them if they refuse to stop being born. The Jewish people don't just fight back with strength. We fight back by ensuring that Am Yisrael continues generation after generation. I remember when pro-Palestine mobs trapped a group of Jewish students at UCLA who were simply having a Shabbat dinner, throwing rocks, screaming slurs, trying to force their way inside. And nobody came. Where was the Jewish Federation? Where was the AJC? Where was the ADL? They were silent and nowhere to be found. I hold Jewish leadership just as accountable for the lack of security in our community as the animals who attempted to storm that Shabbat dinner. Yes, you heard me. It's harsh, but it's true. And we must be willing to call out weakness within our own community. It took the police 40 minutes to arrive. 40 minutes is an eternity when your life is on the line. And while I am grateful for our police officers, we must never again allow ourselves to be reliant on others, even the police. Metzad exists to end that weakness. We are building chapters of disciplined, proud Zionist Jews who understand that survival requires strength. Jews who train at the gym. Jews who go to the shooting range together and learn how to safely use firearms. Jews who take responsibility for their communities. Jews who protect synagogues, schools, and neighborhoods. Jews who refuse to be silent, submissive, or scattered. You see, I was raised in a Persian Iraqi household. And although my family came to this country with conservative views, the idea of guns was always off-putting to them. Iran was a country where civilians didn't carry weapons. It was for the military and police. Security was something you delegated, and society accepted that. But as you know, delegating our security is no longer an option. Delegating our security leads to dead Jews. We as a community need to get over the idea that guns are for crazy rednecks or strange individuals. Nothing wrong with rednecks, by the way. I don't care if you are left-wing or right-wing. You must learn how to protect yourself. Today, whether you are religious or secular, left or right, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, or Mizrahi, it no longer matters. We are one people with one fate. You can be responsible for saving a Jewish school or synagogue, if God forbid there's an attacker. You can be responsible for saving a Jewish life because you chose to take action at this moment in your life. You are the remnants of Judea. Our ancestors were warriors with the hearts of lions. In 1948, we defeated the Arab armies while being outnumbered 7-1. It's about time we reclaim that strength. The days of the weak Jew are over. Now is the time to make a difference. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to get involved. Never again does not mean remembrance or plaques or awards. Never again does not mean moral lectures or negotiations with those who want to kill us. Never again means strength. It means respect. And it begins now. Get involved with the local Metzad chapter today and help us change history. Thank you so much to all of you for coming out. God bless America and Am Yisrael Chai.